We have a Fox News alert to tell you about one of the sources of misinformation on the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict seems to be TikTok.
Just last night, the Senate passed the $95 billion foreign aid package that includes a potential TikTok ban. President Biden is set to sign that bill today.
Lucas Tomlinson is live in Washington with everything in that bill, and there's a lot, Lucas.
That's right, Brian. Good morning. Late last night, the Senate voted overwhelmingly to pass that foreign aid bill. The final vote, 79-18. Here's what's in it. $26 billion for Israel, $60 billion for Ukraine, and $8 billion for the Indo-Pacific. Here's one Republican senator on why he voted against it.
I can't support this bill ultimately because it gives money to Gaza, it gives money for the NGOs that are trafficking illegal immigrants, and it does nothing, zero, to stop the invasion at our southern border. That's got to be our priority.
Now, shortly after the Senate bill passed, President Biden released a statement saying, "I will sign this bill into law and address the American people as soon as it reaches my desk tomorrow so we can begin sending weapons and equipment to Ukraine this week." The bill requires Biden to articulate a strategy for the Ukraine war within 45 days, something we've not heard much about over the past 2 years. The Ukrainians want to return to 1991 borders. That includes taking back all of Crimea and eastern Ukraine from Russian forces. The bill also requires the sale of TikTok. Now, security experts say China is using TikTok to manipulate the American people and point to the anti-Israel protests on college campuses across the country, spreading anti-Semitism and pro-Hamas messaging. Guys?
All right, Lucas, thanks so much. All right, lawmakers aren't the only ones sounding the alarm of the threat from Chinese-owned TikTok. Even FBI Director Christopher Wray pointing out, again, the serious national security concerns.
TikTok, for us, represents a national security concern. And the reason I say that is that TikTok's parent company is beholden to the Chinese government. We're talking about the ability to control or collect data on millions and millions of users and to use it for all sorts of influence operations like driving their AI efforts.
And here to react is Tech Policy Center Director at Heritage Foundation, Kara Frederick. Good morning, Kara.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. So what does this mean for America, the American families and the kids that are on TikTok?
This is a great thing for Americans and especially the next generation of citizens. So right now, the app is probably going to function as normal. The company has about a year, up to a year, to divest from its CCP masters, ByteDance, headquartered in Beijing. So everything's probably going to look normal now. But as the Wall Street Journal said, you don't have to get off now, but it's a good idea to pack a go bag. People should be looking toward other platforms if they want to do their short, seemingly innocuous videos, because as Christopher Wray has said, this is about control and collection. TikTok is a weapon, and this defangs that weapon from the Chinese Communist Party. This is a great thing.
This is all part of this big story on the college campus chaos. And this is the anti-Israeli message that China, who has every reason, has total control of this app, because you, by law, if you are a Chinese-owned company, have to let your technology be totally susceptible and open to anything the government wants. Meanwhile, Scott Galloway says yesterday he's noticed that if you look on TikTok, there are 52 videos that are pro-Hamas or pro-Palestinian. Every one is anti-Israel. He said, if you don't think we're being manipulated, he went on to say, I think the Americans are easier to fool and convince than they've been fooled before. And he went on and on and on. So TikTok is the device. It is a form of fentanyl for the American media. It is overwhelming all other aspects, especially with the next generation.
Oh, yeah, it's a portal to poison, and it is actively poisoning the minds of our youth. And, you know, I don't say that lightly, but you're right to point out that 2017 national intelligence law, which renders private companies in China effectively an arm of the state. They have to work in the service of the Chinese Communist Party. And I would point to another data point. When the Trump administration initially attempted to ban TikTok and WeChat, another digital platform owned by China, with the 2020 EO, China said, we are never giving up the algorithm, no matter what you do. So that alone says that it is so critical to them to be able to influence the information environment and the information that our youth see, that they don't want to give up the algorithm because they have the capability of manipulating it. Director Wray testified to that years and years ago as well.
but they also pay a ton of money to former politicians to lobby for them, like Trent Lott and other people. And now they also, I don't know why, in this legislation, they're waiting 10 months to get rid of it. You should get rid of it now. They got 3 months to divest, or it just goes off out of the country.
And the most important thing that we can do as a country is to have universities that teach students not to be inoculated against this kind of propaganda.
Oh, yeah. And it's really interesting. The CEO or the founder of Palantir, Alex Karp, said something really interesting about these protests a while ago when they were first being fomented directly before the blood was even dry on these hostages and the people who were murdered on October 7th. He basically said these kids think they know everything. They think they know something about the world because they watched a couple of videos on TikTok. You better believe that China is using that, again, as a weapon for our children. And we also know, according to whistleblowers, that the Chinese Communist Party has supreme access to American data, to Americans on the platform. They're using it to their advantage. You got to end it now. Good job, Senate, last night.
All right, Kara, thank you so much. The president's supposed to sign that bill as early as today, possibly. All right,
think about this. Let's bring in Lawrence from Brookfield, Wisconsin. Lawrence, Chuck Schumer holed up in his apartment instead of down in Columbia trying to negotiate or sticking up for those Jewish students. As the highest-ranking Jewish political figure in American history, he's a no-show.
I'm hoping Chuck Schumer learned something from that moment. After all his criticism of Netanyahu, after all this extending an olive branch of the pro-Palestinian movement, they still protest in front of it. There's nothing that you can do as a measure of compromise for these people. They want to get rid of you, period. There's no negotiating that.
Yeah, what is it? You know, when you look at all these crowds, aren't you blown away? Aren't you all shocked? I mean, Charlie, how do you feel about this? Because what does this mean for the election? There are a lot of people that seem to be supporting these protests.
Yeah, well, you know, in terms of Colombia, it's an important reminder. Don't ever say maybe if you mean no. And the idea that they're still negotiating is insane. But, you know, to me, the most shocking part of all of it is that, of course, you know, you have Chuck Schumer, you have Joe Biden. They still want these people's votes. They still are looking at them.
It's all they care about.
It's all they care about. And this is a great moment. Remember when Bill Clinton had his Sister Souljah moment? This is a great Sister Souljah moment where Joe Biden comes out, Chuck Schumer comes out, says, we don't want your vote. Get out of here.
He talked abortion yesterday.
Yeah.
He didn't bring up the main issue, just blanketing this country. Lawrence, what are you seeing in Wisconsin?
Well, you know, Brian, when October 7th first happened, I was going to all these campuses asking these young people, you know, do you condemn what happened? Do you understand what happened? And a lot of them denied what happened there. Well, we scaled back our coverage on it because they have all these group chats, and then they know who you are, and then they have these event organizers that refuse to talk to you. And then they tell all the other students, don't talk to the press, don't talk to the press. Well, we were in Wisconsin, and we found a university that was hosting this cell, this pro-Palestinian cell, to send money to Gaza. You would be surprised what some of these young people said. Let's watch it.
We're here to really advocate for Palestinians, for Gaza. We're activating, honestly, for just humanity.
There's also a lot more casualty on the Palestinian side than there is on the Israeli side. And I'm not trying to like compare the sides, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, October 7th. But like, no, this is since 1948.
If you really look at what's going on in Gaza, you can see it's just really inhumane.
People are saying, well, but what about the Jewish community that is under attack as well? The women that were raped, the kids that were put into ovens.
Wait, I thought that was...
It was not. The UN came out with a report.
That was denied. Was that not denied?
I believe it was.
I believe it was.
It actually happened.
I believe it. I thought that was denied.
And I've talked with some of the
I don't know the resources.
as well.
I don't know the resource. But like I said, we're not here to condone any.
No.
Like we're not here for violence at all.
Do you feel like that you could separate the two and you say, hey, let's just talk about the humanitarian aspect of it without talking about the larger conversation of Hamas using the people that you care about, I care about, as human shields? Like, does that concern you?
It does concern me. It does. It's actually really unfortunate. And we're not, you know, we don't look highly at that at all. Because you got to understand, you're all talking about Hamas this. We're talking about the civilians.
Because that's where it started.
But we're talking about this. But we're talking about right now.
Let me tell you something, guys. If we can't even meet at a common ground that women were raped and children were put into ovens in Israel.
Well, they need to see the video, Lawrence.
Then we can't have a conversation.
They need to see the video. There's
we
video of this.
Well,
Does the whole country need to see it?
They're denying that it happened. They're saying that it was propaganda. And this is the same thing that we experienced when I went to the campuses after October 7th, is that they're under this impression that this does not happen. Then I said, look, listen, if you guys care about the people on the ground so much, why not take on Hamas? Well, they should release the hostages on their side. I go, what are you talking about? Hostages in Israel? You mean the people that are part of a terror organization that have been convicted? You want us to release them? You're putting them on the same scale
well, several
of the
things.
innocent civilians?
If you're paying to go to college, you should be able to go to college and feel safe on campus. And if you're going to protest, you need to know what this protest is about. Yesterday, Sarah Carter was on Sean Hannity's show last night, and I was watching it, and she went into the protesters and said, you keep yelling from the river to the sea. Which river? Which sea? And the girl couldn't answer. Sarah had to tell her. And then someone else was in the crowd denying everything that happened in Israel. We all did see the video. At Fox, we had the opportunity. The Israeli government came in and showed us the video of Hamas with their body cameras on and going into people's houses, innocent houses, killing the parents in front of the kids. There's that one video that I can't get out of my mind of the little boys covered in blood. Their dad is dead. The mom comes home from work, and they killed the dad right in front. He ran into the shelter, and there was a bomb. They threw a bomb in there, a grenade in there, and he was killed in front of his two kids.
You know, it's not a bad thing for children to have emotional responses to things and to be, operating off of emotion. The problem is that they're at a university where they're supposed to be taught humanity, supposed to be taught history, and they're not taught these things. So they're completely fueled by emotion, and they have no idea what they're talking about.
Infiltrated.
And then you wind up in league with a terrorist organization, supporting a terrorist organization.
Right. We know also on campus, these kids are not college kids. A lot of them have phony student IDs. They're sitting there in their late 20s, and they've taken over the campus, and people are financing all of it. We saw a walkout yesterday at NYU downtown, and we see the faculty now involved in it. Think about that, locking arms to protect the crazy students, and if you're a member of the faculty.
But not letting the Jewish professor on Columbia campus get in. They took his key card and revoked it.
It's incredible. Meanwhile, what does it mean? Go ahead.
No, real quickly, Brian. I think it's also important that you have the FBI director that just did an interview yesterday talking about an attack on the homeland with ISIS. Okay, some of the propaganda that they subscribe to is the same propaganda of ISIS-K. So, I mean, we talk about them coming across the border and coming, like they did in 9/11 on some plane or something like that. But the ideology that these young people are now subscribing to, they don't need to fly in.
It's coming
they
from
have homegrown people that believe internally now.
Homeowners are facing squatter epidemics across the nation.
I was scared, but also angry. They act like I was doing something wrong. There was prostitution, there was drug selling.
A squatter there totally destroyed the place. They sold the appliances from the property.
Average, a property like this, especially out in this part of Atlanta, they're just completely destroyed.
They knew the law better than most attorneys do. It took me 36 days to evict them.
The police considered him as a resident. It's just really sad that the homeowners, we don't have any protection.
Well, now in Georgia, the governor, Brian Kemp, is signing a bill today making squatting a crime with fines and potential jail time. He joins us now. Good morning to you, Governor.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Not driving a tractor trailer today. Not driving a tractor trailer today, but we'll be signing the Georgia Squatter Reform Act.
All right, tell us about this act.
You know, we've had laws on the books in regards to this, and I know Fox News has done a great job of spreading this story around the country, and unfortunately, bad actors have figured out ways to take advantage of this, exploit really the process that goes through the local government. So we're passed legislation that I'm going to sign right after this interview to stiffen the penalties to go after these folks, to also speed up the eviction process, but also allow the property owner to go after these squatters for damages.
Okay,
so we're very excited about today.
So it's a misdemeanor criminal offense, punishable by a year in jail, $1,000 fine. You could have one of those or both. And if you forge a fake lease, you're charged with a felony?
Correct.
What got you to this point?
This is insanity. Well, this is insanity that people just think they can come in and take over somebody's home. I mean, it's just outrageous. It really points to, as we've seen around the country, the lawlessness that's gone on under the Biden administration. And quite honestly, a lot of liberal cities around the country where, locally appointed judiciary is not acting on these things. And so the General Assembly, Representative Devin Seabaugh and Matt Reeves, and a lot of other people, including myself, wanted to tackle this problem and see what else we could do to protect our property owners and really go after these individuals that, are creating just doing these criminal acts.
I know that Ron DeSantis, we've been covering what's happening in Florida, too. He did make it easier in that state to remove squatters. Does yours go a step further with the arrests?
Well, I can't remember exactly what they did in Florida, but I'm sure it's much of the same, just using the legal powers that we have to push up the process. I mean, look, it's insane that this even happens to start with. But then when you can't remove these people from your own property, as a property owner myself, I mean, it goes to the insanity of the world that we're living in now. And I know that Governor DeSantis isn't going to put up with that, and neither are we. And looking forward to signing the legislation today.
Real quickly, Governor, we're watching President Trump tied up in court. We're watching Joe Biden being able to go out there and campaign. He even came out of the courtroom one day and said, I would be in Georgia right now. What's your reaction?
Well, I think that's right. I mean, listen, a lot of people understand there's a lot of politics between around a lot of these charges. As I've said before, I mean, nobody's above the law, but I think some of these things, the timing of them, just the, how far they are pushing. I know the former president is frustrated in that regards. And I think President Biden and his allies are behind a lot of these things. But, it's the process that we're going to have to deal with, and people are going to have to stay vigilant.
Okay, Governor. Thank you so much. Nice talking to you. More Fox and Friends coming up.
Columbia University, the epicenter of the anti-Israel protests, announced hybrid classes until the end of the semester, and critics are saying parents should demand a refund. Our next guest's son is a junior on campus. She doesn't want reimbursement. She says her son is not leaving. They will not let Hamas supporters dictate where he goes to school. That mom, Rabbi Marianne Novak, joins us now. Marianne, great to see you.
Great to see you.
So tell me, first of all, thank you for standing up to this lunacy on behalf of all of us. What kind of communication have you had with the university?
The university has sent my son a bunch of emails, but we've had even greater communication through Hillel at Columbia. The Jewish organizations on campus, Hillel, Chabad, the Jewish fraternities and sororities, have done an incredible job of keeping us in the loop and supporting our students when the university is not. They've done an incredible job. And from the university itself, we were just yesterday, he got the email about going to hybrid classes, and then also received some wonderful notes from his professors understanding the situation and extending time for students if they need it in order to finish their assignments.
What have been his experiences with some of these protesters and just trying to navigate around campus?
It's basically been a pain in the neck. Because they have restricted the campus to only ID holders, which meant that he would have to budget another 40 minutes just to get into campus to go to class. So those things are irritating. He has not been personally harassed or attacked. However, it just makes the whole atmosphere on campus just very difficult. And Jewish students, they just want to go to school. They want to finish their schooling. They want to have a college experience. They also, it's a lot of burden upon them also to counter protest, which a lot of them have been doing very admirably, but they want to go to school. And this just makes it extraordinarily, just from a logistical point of view, to go to school.
Prior to this, what's been your experience with Columbia?
Initially, it seemed like they were going to be on top of these protesters to to get them so it wouldn't be as disruptive as it is now. And they did set up a anti-Semitism committee, a task force. But it seems that whatever policies they had, if they were implemented, they weren't implemented well, or any punishments, they weren't given across.
And of course, just getting the education you paid for would be the greatest way to combat all of this. Thank you so much, Rabbi Novak, for joining us.
In the soft embrace of morning light, rocky and rugged, hopefully sight, a whisper of promise, a sense so sweet, reviving energy with every heartbeat. Oh yeah, stumbling down the stairs with grace, favorite moment, cherished embrace. Each sip, a dance of enchantment, caffeine's elixir, a daily enchantment. Ooh, yeah. Coffee in the morning, my lifeline. Guiding through life's chaotic design, finding every sip of morning zest. In that brew, I find my best. The morning sun, a gentle caress, bathing the world in warmth no less. A symphony of flavors in every pore, awakening senses, a ritual to adore. The kitchen hums a quiet tune as dreams unfold not too soon. Pouring the elixir, stories take flight. In the world of coffee, my spirit aligns. I'm uncradled, a vessel of tales. Each sip, a dialogue as morning unveils. Bitterness, a new world of tales. As the day unfolds, a caffeinated tale in morning symphony, where moments prevail. Coffee, my companion in the sunrise quest, in the ritual of morning, my eternal zest. The world awakens, a canvas so bright, in the palette of dawn, a captivating sight, a dance of flavors, a morning trance. In the world of coffee, life's sweet romance.